Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Life Coach Labs. I'm your host, Chris Angel, and I'm here with my friend, and I would call you a mentor, Melissa.
Thank you.
Melissa Pierce from Touched by a Horse. Hi.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good always to be with you.
Yeah, I mean, you're a special person, not only in the work you do, but I just appreciate who you are, and you've been so gracious in inviting me into your herd, your group of coaches in your company, and so I'm honored to have this conversation with you because you've been in this space for a long time, and I'm excited to
Thank you. Thank
to look
you.
at it. So
yeah,
maybe for those listening, just a little background so they can get a sense of where you're coming from.
So I am a psychotherapist and have been for many decades now, getting older, and migrated over into coaching in the mid 90s. And so felt it was really important. I could be a lot more true to who I am and a lot more true to what I wanted to accomplish by moving into the coaching space.
Yeah.
So I wear both hats, but I really prefer, I think, my orientation to the coaching.
Yeah.
Lifetime horseman, and I combine the horses with coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you really created this equine gestalt approach. Yes. Like
Right.
this is kind of your life's work here.
Yeah, it is for sure. I am a gestaltist. When I was getting my credentials as a psychotherapist and doing college for that, I was simultaneously getting my gestalt certifications, and later just fell in love with teaching gestalt as well.
Yeah, that's so great. Just for those that have never experienced equine coactive coaching, for those listening, how does it work? Like,
so the horse is a partner, an equal partner, another coach, if you will. We call it equine gestalt coaching. There's two coaches, one's the equine, one's the human. The coaches give valuable feedback, very, very valuable feedback. And when a horse gives you feedback, it's a 1,200-pound animal giving you feedback.
Yeah.
So the feedback is rich, unpredictable, true, and definitely very somatically centered. So from what's going on in your body and what's going on in that equine's body, reading each other.
Yeah.
So it's very powerful, very powerful. I just think that it's an experience people don't forget. So from there, they can get back on Zoom or phone coaching or office coaching, but it's sort of grist for the mill, if you will.
Yeah, I really like that. My wife and I came out and got to do some work with you. I think it was in November.
Yeah.
With your horses, and that was, I mean, it wasn't the full meal deal. I think we had a limited afternoon, but the little I got to experience the horses, and I think what was cool too was your ability to ask me questions and then also help like me understand what the horse is doing, because I wouldn't know. But there was this really rich my wife and I still have conversations today from that meeting in November about the stuff that came up, and it's fascinating work, and it's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anytime as a coach, we can have somebody experience something, they're going to hang on to it longer and they're going to use it more. And gosh, I think we learned that in the coaching field with ropes courses and, outward bound, all these kinds of things. And the horses are another component of that.
Yeah. It may be a good segue. We'll see. I'm curious. I'd really like to unpack some of because you've been in the space so long, I'd like to see from your perspective, starting with what do you feel like is missing in the industry? Like, it's grown, life coaching's grown immensely. It used to be like, what's a life coach? Or, people would laugh at you if you said you were a life coach.
So true.
Yeah. Yeah. But but now that it's evolved and you look at it, what do you feel like is sort of missing in the space?
So I look at the history of coaching. It actually started with tutoring people and started in London with tutoring and education, and then migrated into sports. And most people think when you say you're a coach, they're thinking of sports back in the day. And then it migrated into business. And so people became executive coaches for business to get more productivity going. And then it's migrated into whatever a life coach is to each individual part to help people become more productive or more fulfilled. To me, I suppose what's missing is in the I'm a teacher, so in the
Yeah.
education of coaches,
Mm,
right? What's missing is that I guess the best way to say it is sometimes I know people are looking for their mission or their calling,
mm,
and they'll, in my humble opinion, they'll misconstrue that what we're saying is that has to be how you're earning your money is your mission,
mm,
when actually some people are living their life's mission by who they are in the world and how they move through the world, how they interact with others. And I think coaching is the same way to me. A lot of programs are based on productivity. It's how do I get the client from A to B to C,
mm.
not help them evolve as human beings for the pure reason of evolving as a human being,
Yeah.
not
Right.
for a goal that they're hitting. So it's a very goals oriented approach right now.
Right.
So yeah.
And what might be missing, so what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is what's missing is coming back to the being. It's always a very Gestalt thing to say, like there's a wholeness to who we are, regardless of what we do or what goals we set or what's next. There's just a
Absolutely.
being about it.
Yeah, and joy and being in the moment and figuring out what each person's
Yeah.
life is about. It doesn't have to be about
Yeah.
attainment of a certain goal,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I like that. I'm curious if there's if there's anything that uh I'll use the word irritates you about the industry. I'm trying to dig for anything that's like a
a little bit.
reaction. Yeah.
Yeah, a
Like
little bit.
what are the irritants?
I I think irritant's the right word. It's like a gnat, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't really deeply trouble me, but it
Yeah.
is like a gnat. When coaching first started migrating, a lot of therapists started moving from psychotherapy to coaching.
Mm,
And we had a massive amount of education underneath us to
mm,
move into it.
right.
And then places like Thomas Leonard, who's left the planet now, but is thought of as kind of the father of the movement, I
Mm,
suppose, of coaching, really came at it with education.
mm,
That to be a coach, somebody needed to learn a great deal about human dynamics and development and a lot of things. So they weren't out there as a loose cannon.
yeah.
And for me now, there are these weekend courses, where you can
Yeah.
become a coach in 48 hours. It's like
Yeah.
there's no integration to it. There's no way of seeing who's really taking that class because it's so online based. And so I think there are some people out there that probably thought they were going to make $1 million becoming somebody else's advisor. And
Yeah.
to me, coaching is not advice giving.
Yeah.
So I guess in full respect for those institutes or places that ask people to dig in
Yeah.
and become more of who they are before they attempt to coach somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think that is an irritant when they're rubber stamped, yay, you're a coach, and they haven't
Yeah.
changed interpersonally themselves yet.
Mm,
So
mm,
our program's big on our coaches. We put them through their paces, as you know, Chris, for
yeah.
2 years.
2 years,
For two
right? Yeah.
years, they learn deeply who they are, how they came to be who they are,
Mm,
their values, everything about themselves, and kind of learning on 2 levels, right? How then can you guide someone else coactively to get there?
yeah.
I think that would be my pet peeve in the industry right now.
Yeah. Is there a line between how much self work I need to do before I am quote unquote qualified to serve someone in their own becoming?
Good question. So in Gestalt, we use a term called confluence. And I think that's the line I always ask my own coaches to draw,
Mm,
which means if I have a client sitting across from me and what they're challenged with in life is something I haven't resolved for myself,
mm,
I am likely to go down a very slippery slope of trying to figure my own self out alongside them and maybe giving them my own personal perspective on it because it's not fixed in myself. So let's say somebody's going through a divorce because their spouse cheated on them and instead of staying the course, they're really just blowing the whole thing up. If that's the space I'm in and you come to me saying, hey, our marriage is really struggling, then I'm liable to encourage you to blow it up, not
mm,
keep it together. And I don't have a right to do that. I need to have my own
mm,
things complete, prior to. So for one person, that could be very quick amount of time. Maybe they haven't had a particularly challenging go, in life. For another person, it could be a while before they've really kind of conquered their own self and then can sit in there. There's a lot of tools in coaching. I mean, we all know the game of coaching. That's what's being marketed out there.
Right.
I have 101 tools and I'll teach you these tools and then you'll be a coach too.
Yeah.
And so many of the places don't put the coach through the tools first. And then some of the tools are very slick marketing, but are they really helpful to the client? Are they really going to get them where they want to be?
Yeah. I was scrolling Facebook today and found there was an ad in my news feed for an app for coaches. It was like a 70% discount. You can get your very own coaching app for 70% off, which I think was $79 a month. And I went to the landing page to see what it was offering. And when I looked at it, it was like, it had all the right words, like if you don't like technology and you want to double it was like all these promises in the language of it. But when I, having been in the space long enough, I'm like, it's never that easy. Like to say that an app is going to grow your business. That's not how it works.
No,
that's not how it works. It was totally like, oh, the answer to all my prayers are in this app. And it's like,
really, those people should be teaching marketing, right? Instead of coaching, because they really know how to build it slick and almost too good to say no to. And they're very wise with that. And I think that $79 figure actually is the buzz right now. They change them all the time. It used to be 39, now it's 79, 199, it's all these buzz levels.
Yeah.
But maybe our grandparents were right. You get what you pay for or something. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Right.
And pay not just dollars wise, but pay with your willing to learn and pay with your time and pay with your integration and pay with becoming more of who you are. Yeah. We have most coaches do have people write visions. So we'll have them, write a vision. And I have a whole CD on helping them do a guided imagery of really what the vision is all about at a certain time. After they've written their vision, they're so excited, okay, I've got my vision. And then we begin with, now, who do you need to become to be that person 3 years from now? What do you need? Where do you need to grow in order to be that person? That's coaching. Not, just the tools, not filling out tools.
I think it's funny because like if you've done coaching or you've been through your own shadow work and you've worked on your wholeness, there's work to do, but then there's a weird like moment where you get into business as a coach, you sort of forget that and you sort of want to microwave your business. Like, there's work on a personal level, and then in business, we get sort of enticed by the quick fix. And my irritant in the coaching space is that it's like coaches aren't saddling up for the work. Like there's some work to build a business. It just takes time. Doesn't happen overnight. Like work is an iteration. Yeah, that's my irritant.
Totally agree. And I'll take that as my second irritant too.
There you go. Good.
I think that's really true. And I think sometimes we're perceived. I'm at my pinnacle of success right now. I'm having a great deal of success. And I didn't do this overnight. My gosh, I've been working at this. I'm an old dog for a long time and getting better at it all the time. And it isn't a straight line, right? It's like the Rocky Mountains. That's why I live near the Rocky Mountains, because they remind me every day, that it does that. Yeah. It's just part of it for me has been loving the business as much as I love coaching. That's a key for me. I think of my business like the world's greatest craft project. There's always some new tool or something that could be repainted or glued back on or twisted or whatever. It's never done. It's never finished. And if, the roof falls off, you put a new roof on, you don't go, oh my gosh, it didn't work. It's like, that consistency. And I think horses teach us that a lot too, and in a natural way. You can't go out and become a horseman in a weekend. It doesn't work.
Yeah, good point.
Right?
Yeah.
Same thing. Thing.
I love, if I come back to the confluence comment, because I feel like then there is you can't have a business overnight, but you can show up and do some stuff today from a space of where are you whole now?
Every day. Yeah,
Yeah, every day. Like you could,
every
as a
day.
new coach, I think a lot of new coaches get started and they still feel like they're not ready yet, or they're not good enough yet, or they don't have enough
Mhm.
repetitions yet. And it's like, but at some point, you can only lead from the work you have done. So start there.
100%. As long as they're being authentic in it, the world, there's plenty of place for coaches that are brand new coaches coming out of whatever training they've gone through to be able, just don't sell yourself as being more than what you
Yeah,
are. You
totally.
know, be a great listener, be somebody that's pledging to your clients that you're going to help them figure it out,
Yeah,
that you're going to, you know, help them do some research around what they're looking for, not that you're the guru with all the answers.
right.
And I totally agree with you on that. It's the old adage of ready, aim, fire.
Yeah,
And I get frustrated with my coaches because after all this training and all
right.
this personal work, I too have a percentage of them that out of fear and everything else, they get ready and they get more ready and they get more ready and they get more ready and they aim and they aim and they aim, but they don't fire.
Mm,
And for me, I've always been somebody that went ready, aim, fire. If I missed, okay,
right,
ready, aim, fire again. You know, it's
right,
just
right.
like
Yeah,
that. But it is tricky to get them to try that. I think that comes again from their experiences in life
yeah,
and whether they have a perfectionistic need to do something at its grandest and most
yeah,
perfect first time out of the box, which just isn't real, just
right.
keeps people
Yeah,
from doing
yeah,
what they can do and being magnificent,
right. Yeah.
really.
I love that about your program because I feel like um, people come through those 2 years and they get to the space where you don't have to have the answers. It's the process. You spent 2 years experiencing that you're leading others through. Like others will find their answers.
Exactly.
Just lead them as you've been taught,
Hmm.
as you've experienced your own self going through. Like that's
Yeah,
really cool.
it's all coactive. I never believe that we have, you know, I'm 38 years a psychotherapist. I probably do have some answers for some people.
Hmm.
However, most of the time, 99% of the time, it doesn't matter what my answer is for you, for instance. What matters is pulling your answer into your awareness.
Mm.
It's not my advice that's going to float your boat. It's you figuring out, oh, you know what I feel I want to do and need to do? It's this. Then we're successful.
Yeah.
That's our program.
Yeah. I love that. Where do
Yeah.
you see, if you looked out into the future of coaching as an industry, where do you see it going, or where do you want it to go?
Well, there's two different questions there, isn't
Yeah,
there?
I guess so.
I think my greatest concern for the field is that they will make the same mistake as psychotherapy made.
Mm.
And therapy had to, they had no choice. And that was forming a board and licensure and just tightening the rules down. And they did it to make it a safer place for clients. And I
Yeah.
definitely understand the intention.
Mm.
What it did was it tagged a lot of very good therapists in some ways that were not fair and drove a lot of people out of being a therapist and into doing things like coaching.
Yeah.
So there's often rumblings in the coaching industry of should we be licensed? Should we have a board? Should we have this? Should we have that? I really hope it doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
That really with the invention of online world, right? That it doesn't need to go that way, that people will either promote who they are or expose who they are, that it's going to have a natural cleansing
Mm.
and that we don't need a licensure board on it. So for me, that would be my druther, although I know there's some big coaching groups that
Yeah.
would love to see licensure because it would pigeonhole people into their training programs,
Right.
almost like unless you have this, you can't be that.
Right.
However, a lot of us will change into being fairy shamans or something. You know, we're not
Right. Some other
going to the
repetitions.
licensure game. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
where I hope that it's going is the definition of the industry itself deepens and that people can understand that it's one of those assets to have in your corner that that's always a good idea to have a coach in your corner, somebody that can hear you and can help you dissect what you're truly saying and can help you find your own awareness of your own answers. I mean, that's just a beautiful situation. And I'm hoping coaching is going more in that direction, less tools, less advice giving. Marketing wise, they're going to keep selling those friggin' tools though, because they sound brilliant. 101 tools for $99. Come on.
Yeah, I really love that though. It's such a it feels like it's a simple answer, like less tools. And there's something about it that feels like when it's simpler, it leaves me with the work, not the tool, right? Not distracted by the tool, but with the actual work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More of becoming who you are and less about homework and here, finish this tool and you'll have this aha. And some of the tools are pretty lame, really. They're like, well, ask your client every day to say, good morning world, and for 5 days in a row and see if they feel better. That's one of their tools that they're selling to somebody for money, you know? And it's like, gosh, can't the coach have enough substance that they're sitting with somebody who says, you know, I wake up and I'm not sure even how to greet the day. Hopefully the coach has enough substance to say, what would happen if you played with that for a while? What would happen if you paid attention to the first thought you're running through the computer in the morning? And after you figure out what that thought is, actually change it for a while to something else. So what do you guess it is? And what do you think you could change it to? That's coactive, not a tool that says, here, now, Chris, every day for 5 days, I want you to say, good morning world, and see what happens.
Right.
So, yeah.
The word substance sticks out to me because I feel like if I think about what I desire for the industry, it would be an industry of substance that people, when they interact with us, through our marketing, through our conversations, through our coaching, whatever it is, that people, there's a respect that's created rather than a skepticism or cynicism. There's like I'm safe with you. You are thinking in ways I'm not thinking.
Right.
And that comes from substance, you know?
Right, exactly. And it comes from truly listening. Everybody in the whole world wants to be heard. For their truth, for their depth, for who they are way inside, not just the words. But, you know, if I have a client that I'm with and I'm seeing them take a lot of deep breaths at unusual times in what I'm asking them, I hear that and I pay attention to that. And I say, well, Chris, each time you mention this, you follow it with a really deep breath. So check in with yourself. What is that about? I do. You did several times. Then you say, okay, I think there's pressure associated. I'm feeling, you know, and it moves on into something that is in the moment. You can't put that in a tool, you know?
Right. Yes. Right.
It's teaching coaches to listen at a deeper level. I know you do that quite well. And so listening at that level of what's unsaid being as important as the content of what is said.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think I would imagine some of that is, I can't imagine any life coach who wants to help people through their own healing and personal development. I can't imagine any life coach not being a good listener. But I think what happens is, again, we come back to the tool and there becomes this preoccupation or distraction with a thing. And so it's like, we went through our own work and we had to do a lot of listening to do that. We put a business hat on and like, we forget all that. It's so
well said.
I think it's
well said.
What, in the context of leadership, I mean, I'm curious, the reason I created this show was to create substance in the industry. I have conversations of substance around the industry. And I think this particular season in Lab on Leadership it speaks to some of that for me, because I think when we all start to think of ourselves as leaders and not just practitioners, right? Like, it's different for me. That's a distinction for me. Like when you're a leader, not just a practitioner, it calls you into something. I'm curious what you see from in leadership with the industry. Not really exactly sure how to phrase that question, but I'm wondering.
I think that we've lost some of our big leaders, the real true beginners of the industry.
Right.
I'm curious, like, as you ask that, who would I think of as a leader in the coach industry right now.
Mhm.
There's the big famous, like Tony Robbins.
Sure.
Definitely, I'm a graduate of his Mastery University. He's a powerful
Yeah.
coach. So there's iconic people
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm not sure. Maybe it's up to each of us to find a way. I know that most people really have a hunger for community.
Mhm.
And so the leader, to me, leaders in this industry need to be community minded as far as inclusive and wanting to
Mhm.
lead the way of this is what this is truly all about.
Yeah.
We have, as you know, a very tight community in
Yeah.
my coaching circle. And that's brought me as much joy as anything, is that we're really truly there for each other and we have this tight community. Right now, the coaching industry itself is pretty segmented
Mhm.
and everybody's kind of in their own bubble, if
Yeah.
you will, saying they're coaches. Well, I'm a coach, but I'm not that kind of coach. It's like all these different things,
Right.
almost like religion has done, right?
Yeah.
So there's
Right.
all these different sectors of it.
Mm.
So I love your question. Uh, I don't know. Do you have anybody you'd point to as being really a leader in the industry itself?
I mean, I think like you, Tony Robbins comes to mind just because it's
Mhm.
what he's been doing for so long. I can think of people who have big followings on YouTube,
Right,
for example,
right.
be like, or they've created schools that
Mhm.
have a lot of graduates of the school,
Right.
but I don't know them. I don't know. So I don't have a relationship there. I really like your answer. I think I think we're all leaders.
Mhm.
I think the leadership, I think the future of this industry looks like all of us being leaders
Mhm.
for the communities we want to create. So maybe speak to that for a second. How do I think a lot of coaches are focused as practitioners one-on-one.
Right.
It's a natural place to operate and play. So when we start to think then of moving the work from an individual and adding a community, how do I as a coach make the jump from doing one-on-one work to leading a community?
Yeah, really true. It goes back to an adage I remember, and I think it was Jim Rohn who said it's important to be in business by yourself, but also with others. So you're for yourself, but not by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we're kind of saying. You're in business for yourself as a practitioner, especially those who are solo practitioners, but it's a lonely feeling out there. That can be really lonely. So that need for community, and perhaps a lot of it is done through wherever that coach has gotten their most recent education would be one.
Yeah, right.
But if someone's listening and they're thinking, I'd love to create community as a solo practitioner, it really is about reaching out. I mean, you're doing that even with this podcast, Chris, is
Right.
reaching out to say, here's a place you can come to
Mm.
listen to these dialogues, listen to these podcasts, meet other people, and create this sort of community feel in this way.
Yeah.
But open dialogue would be next, right? Next would be people coming together at a, hey, let's talk coaching summit on Zoom with several people on there saying, what is it to you? Well, what is it to you? And not sharing tools, but sharing depth, sharing ideas, sharing heart, in
Yeah.
there,
I mean,
right?
yes, I love that. Because there's substance in that.
Yeah,
When you're asking the
yeah.
question, I really feel like there needs to be more collaborative wrestling with the issues,
Mhm.
the frustrations, the breakdowns, and not doing it alone and in your journal, which is
Right,
fine.
right.
But there's something else that's available in relationship with other people.
Yeah, a confidential, safe space where people can be in their authentic self and actually say when it's hard,
Yeah.
when it's difficult, when it's not rolling like they were told it was going to do. What is that about? There's a lot in the education space. There's not a lot in the open coaching
Yeah.
community space.
And if I took that a step further from coaches getting involved in a community where they were being recharged and sharpened from the interaction, I also think it's important for coaches to have their own community they're leading. So if I'm a coach who's specializing in marriage, let's just say, because that's in my head, that I would be able to create some type of a space, a container that holds the conversation of marriage for the people I'm seeking to serve. Like, there are people I want to serve. Let's invite them into that community, and I can move from just coaching to leading a community of couples who want to, grow in that way.
Right. Right. Oh, I love that. When our certified practitioners are finishing their last, what we call core, which is an in-person in the arena with the horses and stuff. And they're always full of tears and gratitude. And it's been quite a 2 years. And, there's sadness because they don't want to leave the intimacy of the circle and the community, which they don't. We work very hard to keep them in our community, happy and heard and contented and all that. But one of the things I say to them is, as you are launching, right, create your circles. That's what you're going to go do. So where you feel like it's been so fulfilling to be a part of this circle as a student, now as a graduate, you go out and create your circles. And that's what fills them up the most, going out and creating their groups and their circles, for sure.
Yeah. I could see a world where I was saying to somebody the other day, I think it was in an episode even, we were talking about how in American healthcare systems, everybody needs a primary care physician to get a referral to anybody else. It's like, so if you're at all in the healthcare system, everybody needs a doctor.
Yeah.
Like, why? I could see a world where everybody has a coach. Why couldn't there be a place where everybody has a coach?
Right.
And the communities we go to, the communities we put ourselves in, aren't the ones that are now geographically imposed like it used to be. Like with the internet, things have freed up, right? But
totally.
I used to live in a small town. I kind of stuck with, I guess this is the community I'm going to try to nurture.
Right.
But with the concept of tribes and who your people are and the internet, you can now create community around the exact conversation you want to lead in the world, which is what it's what you're saying. You're inviting your graduates to do when they're graduating. Go out and find your people.
Absolutely. Find your village. And really it's global anymore now.
Right.
We have a new podcast at Touched by a Horse, and my husband does it with me, and it's funny and it's fun and we're having a ball doing it. And we were looking at the analytics behind the scenes, and we were very moved to see that there were people in Ukraine listening to our podcast. So God bless you, Ukraine. And just moved to see it was several different countries and people from all over the world. But, it's a new day. It's a new world, right? And we're affecting people out here with podcasts and such that are all over the world. So I agree. And maybe they even need community more, people that are doing this coaching industry, but they're not, America's got a lot of coaching schools and coaching this and coaching that. So, really inviting people from all over and hearing culturally how it's different and diverse as well.
Yeah, that's got substance. Like, you could really chew on that one for a bit. Like,
wow, let's do it. Let's do it, Chris.
That's so good. That's so good. I love it. Well, this is, we could keep talking, but I appreciate this perspective on where the industry's been, where it's going, and leadership. You do have you mentioned your podcast. Touched by a Horse is the name of the podcast, right?
Yeah. I have 55 incredible episodes interviewed by you, interviewing my graduates. So that was phase one. And then this year we invested in the equipment and learned how to do it and stepped up, and we're doing it together, and just loving the process and loving really doing fun. It. So thank you. It's available everywhere. So
all the places podcasts are. It's so good. And if people want, I'm sure there are people who are like, tell me more about this equine gestalt approach. If people want to learn more about your work or want to check out your certification program, where can they go?
We have graduates all over the US and in 11 countries. Wow. So they can certainly contact office at Touched by a Horse if they're looking to find a practitioner, or go to touchedbyahorse.com and they'll see how to find a practitioner on there. If they have a special need, they can email out to us, and I actually do an eHarmony matchup by, they need this or that, and figure that out.
Oh, nice.
The certification programs are 3 levels, 3 different levels, and they're also on our website. We just launched the equine facilitator program April 1st. So April 4th, I guess, was the opening, and it's launched and doing really well. And it's a 9-month, more workshop-based, facilitation-based. The deep process EGC, the equine gestalt, is trauma-informed work. So it's heavy, deep gestalt work for.
That's the 2-year program, right? That's
right. That's the 2-year one. Exactly. And that's really the one that is for veterans and Center Against Sexual Assault and people going through really the depths of pain and different things happening in their life. And they're all trauma-informed coaches, and they're happy to do the lighter, brighter work. If you just aren't sure, what do I do with myself now when I'm single again, or something like that, all the way to they are someone who you can trust in a safe and sacred place to drop anything that's painful and not have to pick it up again. It's not talk therapy, right? It's not talk about, it's experience and release, really get rid of it. And our 3rd program is open only to graduates of our 2-year program. So it's a master's.
Yeah. That's so cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all the work you're doing in the world. Thanks for including me in it. It's really fun to be connected to you.
Thank you for all you've done for us. You spoke at our summit last year. It was just awesome.
So fun.
So thank you,
great.
Chris.
I love your people and what you're up to.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for your time today, Melissa.
Absolutely. And for all those coaches out there, keep on coaching. Carry on, carry on.
So good. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
Well, that's it, gang. Thanks for listening to this episode of Life Coach Labs. Before I let you go, I want to invite you to 2 things. 1, there is a companion Facebook group to this show called Life Coach Labs. Go to Facebook and search Life Coach Labs. You can see it here on the screen. If I scroll through, this is a companion group to the show because it gives me a chance to get to know you. I want to know you as much as you listen to me and my guests. I want to know you. I want to hear about your important work. I want to support you. So please head over to Facebook and join the free Life Coach Labs Facebook group. Number 2, let's jump over to the next window here. If you are looking to create recurring revenue in as little as 4 hours a week, I have documented my community model, right? How do you do community? How do you build a membership model for your coaching that incubates the people you want to serve and do it in as little as 4 hours a week? You can head over to lifecoachlabs.com/model. You can see it right here on the screen, lifecoachlabs.com/model, and learn more about how to create recurring revenue in as little as 4 hours a week. Thanks for hanging out with me in this episode. And until next time, be well.